Dov Sedan. That was his name, Dov Sedan. Dov Sedan, I found out, had been a member of the Knesset from the Labor Party, Mapai. He'd been one of the founders of the Labor Party newspaper Davar, and he was professor of Yiddish at the Hebrew University. And he was a veteran Zionist, secular Zionist. And I went to visit him and his wife. They're very nice, educated people. And I asked him in the way that a naive yeshiva student would say to him, what is going to keep this country Jewish? I said, to me, if you don't have a base of religion, there's nothing that will keep Israelis Jewish. And he looked at me with the disdain that a famous professor looks at a teenager and says, well, some people don't agree with you. So I said, so what will keep this country Jewish? He said, we have a language, we have an army, we have a culture. That will keep us Jewish. Meaning secular. And that's it. Let me give you an example of that. Today, if you go to Israel today, you can visit a place called Ne'ot Kedumim. Has anybody here been to Ne'ot Kedumim? Ne'ot Kedumim is a nature preserve. A nature preserve. There was a man named Noga Harauveni. These are the kind of names that secular Zionists gave their kids.
I said, where's it around?
Central Israel, near Modi'in. Noga Harauveni was the child of two Jewish botanists, and he devoted his life to the flora, to the growth in Israel, of the Jewish land, to bringing back plants that weren't there anymore, to replanting them, to finding all of the plants that are mentioned in the Bible, in the Talmud, etc. He was a secular person. He was not an observant religious Jew. He devoted his entire life to building up Ne'ot Kedumim, which today is a very large and very well-endowed institution where you can go and see all kinds of plants and all kinds of trees and shrubs and flowers and herbs of all kinds, and you could spend a week touring it and learning tremendous things about it. I went with some of my children, and we had a private tour, and it was fascinating. They have, for example, if you study the laws of sukkah, of the sukkah, it talks about different kinds of sukkahs, that what this is kosher, this is not kosher. If you go to Ne'ot Kedumim, you can see 20 different sukkot of all kinds. The Talmud talks about a mikveh. A mikveh cannot have water that was inside a vessel. A mikveh has to be rainwater. Or it has to be, it can't be, you can't take a cup and put it into a vessel and pour it into a mikveh. It's not appropriate. So there's something called Archimedes' screw. That's not the Jewish phrase, that's probably for a Greek thing, where it's a water wheel where you turn it like this and the water comes up and goes out the other side, but at no point are there four walls. You're saying it's always a flow. And that's kosher. Because if I dig a hole here and there's a pond over there and I use this thing, I can fill it up. And the Talmud talks about that. In Ne'ot Kedumim, they built one, and you can do it and see it. So afterwards, I asked the guide who took us around. He was a very nice fellow. I said to him, explain it to me. You devote your life to this. You know every plant of Israel. He's not Noga Harauveni. He died. He was a long time. But he said to me, I don't go to synagogue. I'm not religious. But I love the land of Israel. I said, okay, what will keep your children Jewish? The army, the language, the culture. Okay, that's one side of Israel. You asked me, where is Ne'ot Kedumim? It's right next to a place called Kiryat Sefer. Kiryat Sefer is the opposite of the guy that gave me the tour. It's ultra Orthodox, and those people who don't like that word, there's no other way to describe it. I can't call them fervently Orthodox. They're more fervent than that. They're ultra, fanatic.
How about frum?
No, frum is not good enough for because in that place, what you would call frum, they would say that's too modern. Okay? The point, but the point that I want to make is, how can we build a country where you have a town that everybody there learns in Kollel, where they don't allow newspapers, internet, anything like that, where they're living a totally a life according to Judaism as they understand it. And here's another Israel of people who never set foot in a synagogue but love their Jewish heritage and can discuss with you all kinds of stuff about the Bible and the Talmud because they're interested in the land and how do we build that country? How do we build a country with those two people? But I want to talk a little bit more about that. That's two extremes. I want to talk about another thing. I was recently in Israel for 2 weeks with my wife, and we visited Sderot. Does anybody know why we visited Sderot? What's Sderot? Why did I go there? What?
You went to show solidarity?
I went to show solidarity because of rockets, exactly.
Because of what?
Rockets. It's right next to the Gaza Strip. They have been pounded for 8 years by Qassams, and I felt that it was my moral obligation to go there and show solidarity. You know how you say solidarity in Hebrew? Solidariyut. Okay. There's really Hebrew words for all these things, but Israelis don't use them anymore. Solidariyut. Okay. So Achdus is really solidariyut. But, in any event, so while I was there, a person who took us there said, I'm going to take you to somebody where a Qassam fell a couple days ago. This was Sunday, the Thursday before, just before the weekend. A Qassam rocket sent from Gaza had landed in the front yard of someone's home. Now, luckily it didn't hit their house, didn't kill any people, but if a bomb lands in your front yard, it shakes your house up quite a bit. Okay? That was a miracle in itself, because these are unguided missiles, landed in their front yard. So we went there. And the family was there. They're not staying in the house now. They're there in a hotel temporarily, but they're, back to survey the damage, whatever. And they took me in. We talked. Nice people. Not religious in the sense that you look at a religious Jew and you see a kippah on his head or you see tzitzit coming out. I mean, a Jew, just a working class Sephardic Jew who lives in Sderot. And I go in the house, and it's very interesting. I see on the wall in the bedroom was the first room where the rocket fell opposite the bedroom. It's smattered, and there's shrapnel, because in these Qassams there are little pellets, ball bearings. So the wall is completely pocked on the back wall of the room. I mean, the rocket was here, but it went through. Except for one place on the wall, there's a picture on the wall that's completely unharmed. Unharmed. And it's a picture of an old man and an old woman. So the lady says to me, my father was a tzaddik. That's why his picture was not hurt. Do you understand? Are these religious Jews? I don't know. I think so. I think they believe deeply. You understand what I'm saying? My father, a Yemenite Jew, dressed like an old Yemenite Jew, and his wife, he was a righteous person. So his picture was not harmed. You hear? Now, so that's a different kind of Israeli. I'm going to call them traditional.